Great to see you all. There's a lot of you out there today. That's a really good thing. It's so good to be with you today. Thank you for letting me stand before you again on the chancel steps. And this morning we have some great opportunities for learning with today's gospel. So offer you today's message, the Leaky Cup. The Leaky Cup. These words are offered in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. You know, saints, today's the classic Bible story, the classic gospel of the Good Samaritan. Has anybody not heard this story? Everybody's heard this story. Yes. There's a lot of ways to approach this story, a lot of interpretations. The classic one, which I'll share with you first, is one that you may have heard, and that is, let's look at the characters. Who do we have here? We have first the questioning lawyer, and then Jesus tells a parable. When the lawyer asks, "Who's my neighbor?" Jesus usually answers questions in the form of a story, which I love as a storyteller myself. And so you have the characters in the story. You have the beaten man, you have the priest, the Levite, and the Samaritan. And so the classic interpretation of this is really a hypocrisy story. So when you hear this story and you see what transpired, and you see that the priest and the Levite has walked on by the beaten man without, so much as a look, it's easy for us to say, "Oh my goodness, these two, how could they possibly do such a thing? How could they do it? How could they be so cold? How could they be so unseen?" And then, of course, the Samaritan. And the Samaritan is one who was shunned by the Jews. If you were Samaritan, you were not well received at all, if at all, in Israel. And so this Samaritan, who the Jewish people would think that a Samaritan wouldn't do anything because of the way that they are, he came and showed mercy to the man. And so when Jesus came back and asked the lawyer, "Well, who do you think was his neighbor?" And the lawyer says, "The one who showed him mercy." So that's the classic approach to this story, and that those of us who have received the gift of Jesus, have received the gift of the Jesus way, we have this responsibility, right? This responsibility to see, and when we see, to act. There's an old saying that a wise one once told me: "If you see it, you own it." And so when we see, if we are indeed full of God's grace and medicine, we take the action that's necessary for our neighbor. Now here's a little different spin on that. In order to give grace, we need grace. In order to give it out, we need to have it in the first place. And one of the best analogies that I've ever heard for this grace within us, this opportunity we have to put goodness back into the world, is that of a leaky cup. A leaky cup with a hole in it. And so in this cup with a hole in it, grace is always coming out the bottom, right? We're always called to do good, to do more, to look and see, to hold space. We're asked a lot. And so all of that is water coming out of the bottom of our cup through the hole in it. So what happens? We have to make sure we replenish the cup from above, right? We have to make sure that there's something in the cup for us to give away. And so basically what we have here is a rate equation. We have to get more water in than we put out, because we're always putting water out. If we really hear those words, love your neighbor as yourself, the water's coming out anyway. And so we have to make sure that we have enough. We have to make sure we have enough in the cup. What happens? What happens when we don't have enough? It becomes harder and harder and harder to do Jesus' work in the world. Instead of becoming a joy, it becomes a labor. Until it becomes a labor so long that we just stop doing it because it's just too hard. We have nothing left to give. Nothing left to give. You know, I wish I could say I was immune from this, but I certainly am not. Most of you know that I'm a chaplain over at Legacy Salmon Creek. And 2 nights a week, Monday and Friday, I'm on call from 7 o'clock at night until 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, as you can imagine, nothing really good happens between 7 o'clock at night and 7 o'clock in the morning. There's always things going on, code blues, people in need, accidents, all those kind of things that we are asked as chaplains to respond to. So usually when my cup is full and my pager goes off, I react joyfully. Oh, here's another opportunity. Here's another opportunity to bring some good into the world. But there was a time when I let my cup run dry. I had nothing left to give, absolutely nothing. And that pager went off, and instead of greeting it with joy, I greeted it with disdain. Why won't these people leave me alone? Why won't they let me sleep? Why won't they let me be? So in our stories today, yes, we see those who walk by. We see those who walk by, and why? Why do they walk by? Well, there's probably a lot of reasons. One, they didn't want to get their hands dirty, because of working with a bloody person and the ritual purity codes. But there's that possibility that perhaps this priest and this Levite had given so much away already that they just didn't have any more to give. And whose fault was that? That was theirs. That was theirs. It's our responsibility to make sure our cup is always full so that it can overflow out into the world. And here we have that Samaritan who leapt on the opportunity and said, let me do whatever I can. And why could he do that? Because his cup of grace, his cup of medicine from the Creator was filled. So today, saints, I hope you take away from our story that we are all a leaky cup. And it's our responsibility that we have enough always to give away to another. And yes, what I mean is keep your cup full spiritually, of course, by being open and welcoming to the good news when the Spirit provides it. We see that goodness into the world, and we keep it, and we put it back out. But also, we take care of ourselves. Self-care is so, so important. If we drive ourselves to the limit and keep doing and doing and doing and doing, we come to a point where our cup is empty. We have nothing more to give. So whatever it is that renews your spirit, do that. Do that. Whatever it is that brings you joy, do that. Because all of those actions, all of that intentionality is filling that cup for that moment when it's needed the most. Be ready. Be ready. As we said last week, keep that space, maintain that sacred space, and we do that by always being prepared and having our cup full. because our grace has no choice but to come out. Once it's in the cup, can't be controlled. We're going to put it out into the world. So make sure we have enough to give. Remember when you fly and the flight attendants are doing their oxygen mask test? What do they always say? Put your own on first, right? And why do they do that? Put your own on first. So then you're capable and able and also willing to help your neighbor. So this week, saints, I'm asking you to put your own oxygen mask on first. I'm looking to examine your own cup and see if you're running dry. If you're running dry, fill it up. If you're overflowing, wonderful, give more. But remember the leaky cup. Remember the Samaritan. Remember those Levites. And always have enough to give. These words are offered in the name of the Father, and the Son,